Hello, Danielle Tully with eXp Realty, and we're putting the real in real estate, but today it is just me. So it's, instead of we are putting it, it's I am putting the real in real estate today. And because, just sometimes real estate and life and all that other stuff gets in the way, and Ruth is busy with her clients right now. So I said, I can handle this. And so today we're going to talk about kind of how you know when you're ready to buy a home, as far as what do you need. It's not just getting a pre-approval, which is great first step, or calling us, which is also a great first step. But there are some things besides being able to get financing that you need to take into consideration. So I'm going to go over kind of some of those, and there's no hard and fast number. There's kind of general ranges that you can expect. So obviously the first one that we're going to talk about, I'm going to talk about, since we were talking, when I just mentioned getting a loan, is down payment. So there is one loan out there, the VA loan, that is 0% down. So that is very specific to only individuals who are eligible for it. And I believe they have some restrictions on that as far as how many times they can use it, or concurrently, or how long in between times. But unless you, and I'm sure if you are a veteran and you are eligible for it, I'm sure you know that, because it is really a great opportunity and program for anybody who is looking to both buy a house, to have that availability to have 0% down. But most of the buyers out there need some other form. Hello, Mom. Need some other form of financing. So that's either, conventional. You used to hear about 20% down. The fact is that there are some programs out there for conventional that you can get as low as 3% down. So if you are looking at about $300,000, 3% down, $9,000. That would be kind of your starting point. And it goes all the way up to obviously 20, 30%. And the more you put down, the better rates you can usually get, because it's less risk for the bank, so they want to reward you. Additionally, FHA is another one that used to be 5%, and now it's down to 3.5%. Maybe it was always 3.5%. Sorry, it was conventional. That used to be 5. Now it's down to 3 in some instances. But 3.5%. So again, at that 300,000 mark, you're looking at, quick math here, 9, 12, 11, 1100-ish, 10.5, something like that. 10,000, 10,500 minimum for something like that. So obviously, if you're in the higher price range, if you're in a lower price range, you would have to adjust for that. But generally, I'd say at least 3.5% or 3% is needed, and it's always better to have a little bit more. But there's more beyond the down payment. There is also other things that you're going to have to come up with cash right away, and there's some money that you're going to have to come up with at the closing. So closings these days are anywhere between 30 and 60 days, depending on the needs of the buyers and the sellers and all that good stuff. But generally, the first, as soon as you get under contract, the first thing that you're going to need to come up with is earnest money. Now, again, earnest money is not one of those items that has a hard and fast rule. I have seen people put down $1,500 on $250,000 houses. I've seen people put $5,000 down on $250,000 houses. I like to encourage my clients to try to put at least 1% down. So again, if it's $300,000 house, at least 3. But sellers like to see a little bit more. Sellers would probably like to see $4,000 or $5,000. And again, as I tell my clients, there's many, many ways that you can get your earnest money back. I also try to tell my sellers that it's a nice idea to get a lot of earnest money, but most cases, the buyers are going to get their earnest money back, because there are just so many steps within the process that are beyond the buyer's control. And they did go into it with good faith. Hopefully, a buyer goes into a contract with good faith, and they, if their financing fell through or appraisal didn't come or something happened along the way that was out of their hands and they still were moving forward, we want to make sure that they get their money back. So again, I'd say around 1 to 1.5% of the value of the home expect to have as an earnest money. Now, that money does get put towards the final closing cost and the money you have to put at the end, but it is something that needs to be, you need to sign, get a check, and deposit it immediately within a couple days of contract. And that gets held up for the duration of the contract. There's also inspection, which it happens within the first couple days after you're under contract. It is generally, again, a range. I'd say between $400 to $600-ish to have an inspection. That will be due at the time of that you go under, you have the inspection, which is 5 days after closing. So, after you go under contract. So you have the initial earnest money that you're putting, you're giving money to, and next step, within 5 days, you're writing a check or paying an inspector, and that's just a general inspection. You have a lot of different inspections that you have the choice to do. You can have termite, which usually runs $100, $125. Radon is several $100s, usually on top, depending. Sometimes the inspectors themselves do their radon, or they have a company that they have come in. And sometimes you can kind of get like a discount for having kind of those all set up through the same person. But overall, that is, that's now another $200, $300, $400 for a radon. So you can have inspections that cost as much as $1,000. So again, now you're adding another $1,000. And again, to be prepared, these inspections are supposed to help you figure out if this is a house that you would like to invest in, if this is the house you want to move into. You have to really make sure that it's a good buy. And if you go into an inspection and there are a bunch of things that are very costly or you weren't expecting and were a surprise, you might decide you don't want to move forward with that house. Or maybe maybe you asked for some things and the sellers didn't want to do it, and you have to walk away. You're still in the house search. So now you're on to your next house. And so you have to pay that inspection fee again. And maybe a radon. And again, whatever you had chosen to do the first time, you might decide to do on the second house too. So I would take what I just said, $400 or $500 up to $1,000 and double that, in the idea that you might have to do an inspection more than once on different houses. So we just want to make sure that you're ready and prepared to understand that this is not, you just can't wake up one day and say, "Yay, I'm going to buy a house." There's some planning that needs to be done for it. Appraisal, that's another thing. It's a couple $100 these days. Sometimes it gets pricier and pricier just because the amount of appraisers out there and the time or lack of time that they have, because there is so many houses out there, and so the prices are kind of rising. So I think I don't know, maybe $300 or so. I'm again ballparking here, and that's something that again needs to be paid for prior to it. I think I'm seeing more and more that needs to be paid for prior to it being done. Now there are sometimes I do see it in, thank you, Mark. I'm not sure if you're listening or just answering my text. He's saying $425 for appraisals these days. So that is something that sometimes can be put on the closing documents, but sometimes also has to be paid right then and there, which is, again, usually within 2 weeks of going under contract. So that is another expense that you might have to endure before you even get to the closing table. And then we get to the closing table. And again, there is a wide variety, but I generally like to say about 3% of the purchase price is what you can expect to have to come to the table too for closing costs. So you have the title insurance is about 1.5% or so of the cost. That's kind of my go-to range there. And both sides need title. So if the buyers have title, and it's a really good peace of mind, but it's necessary, especially when you're getting financing. You have the attorney fee. In Illinois, we are an attorney state, and I highly, highly, highly suggest all of my clients hire an attorney, and that is several $100s as well. That's between $300 to $600. There are extenuating circumstances. You know, if you have special things going on, it might be a little bit higher, a little bit less, depending. But you would talk to one of our preferred partners, our team of attorneys that we have on our that work with us. And then origination fees. Again, each lender and different programs have different prices that they come up with, and they will let you know, again, probably at the beginning of the process, what you can expect, and they'll talk you through it. But so it's not a surprise at the end. And then we also have the 3 days prior to closing that they are required to disclose all of the final numbers so that you know exactly what you can expect to pay on a monthly basis and what their fees are and things like that, and what you need to bring to the table. But again, a rule of thumb is about 3% of the closing costs, which is why when people ask, when buyers ask for closing costs, that 3% is usually where lenders will suggest, because that covers most, if not all, of the closing costs. In this market, with it being very competitive for the buyers are in a lot of competition with other buyers. The better that you can come up with these numbers and understand the money that you might have to have ready and in a bank account and pretty liquid is going to make you more competitive than if you have to get closing costs. I'm not saying that you're unable, but again, being a little bit more prepared, having an idea of what you can expect will make things go a little bit smoother, and hopefully allow you to reach your goal of buying a home quicker and easier and happier. So that's kind of my thoughts and ideas of how you can be truly prepared and know how much money you need to buy a home. We can't all be lenders, unfortunately. We can't put everything on the loan, but I hope that helps. And of course, if you have any further questions and you're thinking about buying and you do not know these new steps, or if you want to know specifically about your situation, the area that you're looking in and what it might cost and what you should expect, reach out to us, me or Ruth, or either one of us, both of us, Tim, whoever, and we will be happy to help you and guide you as always. So thanks for joining me today, and we will see you next week. Take care.